Okay. Sophia, go ahead and do this one. Go.
Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. The unsurpassed, deep, profound, subtle, wonderful Dharma in 100,000 million eons is difficult to encounter. Now that I have come to receive and hold it within my sight and hearing, I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual meaning.
Okay, let's do 1 minute meditation and we go in your presentation. All right, keep your back straight, your neck straight, close your eye, inhale and exhale to the nose. You count 1 and keep going. If you see your monkey mind, go back to your inhale and exhale and counting. Don't hold your breath. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. All right, Sophia, you want to try your?
Okay.
Okay, well, let me give you the co-host. Yeah. Wow, wonderful. You did really good job.
My name is Sophia Nguyen. I am 13 and 8th grade, and I have a presentation about karmic affinities. Okay. Okay, first off is positive karmic affinity. When we share our positive karmic affinities with people from a past life, we'll naturally take a liking to them in this life. Everything they'll say will sound right and sensible, and we'll readily agree. Even when their views are actually distorted or wrong, we'll place our faith in them and believe them to be in the right. So even when they lead us astray, we'll follow along, believing they're good people doing the right thing. Okay. Here is an example of a positive karmic affinity. There was once a starving child who was suffering greatly due to the lack of food he had. His parents were gone, and it was just him alone on the side of the road. One day, a kind-hearted child came along and offered his own lunch to the starving child. The starving child was touched by the act of the kind child. After the meal was offered, the two chatted up a conversation and became great friends. Both of them never forgot that day until their deaths. In their next lives, the two became siblings who always got along and never fought. They always treated each other nicely and were inseparable buddies. Here is negative karmic affinity. Even though someone may be a nice and good person, somehow when we see them, a feeling of strong dislike arises, unbidden. Just seeing them causes a change in our mood, but we don't know why we're reacting this way. As if beyond our control, our attitude turns negative, our tone sharp, our words unkind. Why? This reason lies in our having formed negative relations with this person in a past life. In Buddhism, we call these negative karmic affinities. Here is an example. There once was a cat and dog who lived in the same house but unequivocally hated each other. The cat would always destroy the dog's toys by scratching them, and the dog was a nuisance to the cat. It would always slobber all over the cat's bed on purpose. Aside from ruining each other's belongings, they would compete for their owner's affection. The two were fiery enemies who hated each other until their deaths. In their next lives, they became humans. They were salesmen who had competition because they sold similar items. To the end of their days, they fought over sales. So you can see positive karmic affinities are about forming good relations with people in past lives and therefore causing you to have good relations with them in this life. And negative karmic affinities are the opposite. Here is a story about Ananda and a lady. In the Buddhist time, there was a poor old lady who always avoided the Buddha and his monastic disciples whenever she saw them approaching. And she had never made any offerings to them. In order to give her an opportunity to give and sow blessings, the Buddha sent Ananda to guide and enlighten her. Feeling confused and puzzled, Ananda asked the Buddha has 32 dignified physical marks. How could there be any living being whom the Buddha is unable to guide and transform? The Buddha replied, the old lady has a karmic affinity with you, and she needs you to guide and help her. Ananda then walked towards the old lady with skepticism in his mind. Unexpectedly, the elderly woman knelt down before Ananda the moment she saw him, and then followed him to see the Buddha. After that, she joyfully made offerings to the monastic community with a sincere heart. The monks were curious about the sudden change in the old lady's attitude, so the Buddha related to them a story from one of his previous lives. Two monastic spiritual practitioners met a woman who was crying when they were walking along the road. The monks who were walking in front towards the woman walked towards the woman and asked her why she was crying. The woman said that she was deeply saddened by the sudden death of her child shortly after her husband passed away. The monk then preached about the natural cycle of birth, aging, illness, and death to the woman and told her that nothing could be done to bring her child and husband to life, no matter how much she cried. After saying that, the monk heaved a sigh before leaving her and continued his journey. The monk who was walking behind gave the woman a handkerchief to wipe her tears and comforted her with gentle words and an empathetic heart. He told her that life is full of suffering and that she had to open up her heart and learn to let go. The woman who was suffering the pain of losing her loved ones felt comforted by the words of the second monk and stopped crying. The Buddha told Ananda that the two monks were Ananda and him in one of their past lives, and that woman had reincarnated as the old lady in this life. The Buddha did not form a positive affinity with the woman in that lifetime, so it was difficult for him to enlighten her. Only Ananda was able to do that. The karmic consequences we experienced in this life were due to the karmic causes we had created in the past. It is not easy to be born as a human. Hence, it would be a pity if we are unable to help ourselves and form positive affinities with people. We must be aware that the karmic law of cause and effect and form ongoing good affinities with others. If we are able to plant these good seeds in everybody's heart in this life, people will have a good impression of us when we meet them in our next lives. Such good affinities will also enable us to help and guide one another. Okay. Next is loving kindness. In Buddhism, loving kindness in Pali Metta in Sanskrit Maitri is thought of as a mental state or attitude, cultivated and maintained by practice. This cultivation of loving kindness is an essential part of Buddhism. The practice of loving kindness, which is part of the Buddhist practice of metta, is the antidote to selfishness, anger, and fear. The Pali word metta is a multi-significant term meaning loving kindness, friendliness, goodwill, benevolence, fellowship, enmity, conquer, inoffensiveness, and nonviolence. The Pali commentators define metta as the strong wish for the welfare and happiness of others. Okay, here is an example of loving kindness. While going through a divorce, my mother fretted over her new worries. No income, the same bills, and no way to afford groceries. It was around this time that she started finding boxes of food outside her door every morning. This went on for months until she was able to land a job. We never did find out who left the groceries, but they truly saved our lives. This was a story from Jamie Bolin from Emmett, Ohio. Compassion. Metta, which is also loving kindness, is often paired with karuna, compassion. They are not exactly the same, although the difference is subtle. The classic explanation is that metta is a wish for all beings to be happy, and karuna, which is compassion, is a wish for all beings to be free from suffering. A more accurate explanation would be that compassion is directing one's attention or concern to the happiness or sufferings of others. Here is an example of compassion. A teacher friend of mine was teaching math to a class of 6-year-olds, a number of whom were recently arrived refugees from other countries. The topic was fractions. My friend defined what a half and quarter were, and then asked the children to write down whether they would prefer half or a quarter of a chocolate bar. As she walked around the room, she noticed that some of the new students wrote that they would prefer a quarter of the chocolate bar. My friend thought she would have to reteach her lesson, as they didn't appear to understand that a half was bigger than a quarter. She asked the students why they would prefer a quarter of the chocolate, and one little girl replied, "So that more people could have a piece of chocolate." I cried when I heard that story. It reminded me of how beautiful humanity is if we take a moment and notice it. This was a story from this person, and my thoughts on it is that even children can have such deep compassion. Okay, so now we have the quiz. Number 1, if two people in this life hate each other due to past karma, what do they share? A, a positive karmic affinity, B, compassion, C, a negative karmic affinity, and D is loving kindness.
You could share your answer to the chat.
Yes, the correct answer is a negative karmic affinity. Number 2, when you devote your concern to the suffering of others, what is that called? A, loving kindness, B, Buddhist qualities, C, the Four Noble Truths, and D, compassion. Yes, the correct answer is D. Okay. When you wish for happiness and welfare for others, what is that called? A, karuna, B, loving kindness, C, nirvana, D, empathy. Yes, it is B. If two people in this life really like each other due to past karma, what do they share? Yeah, the correct answer is A. And this is the last slide. With whom did the lady have a positive karmic affinity with? The correct answer is C. Why did the lady not like the Buddha? Okay, the correct answer is B. Thank you for listening to my presentation.
Wow, your presentation is very good. My goodness, you did a really good job. It's great. So anyone have question for her? This is a very good topic too. It's an excellent topic. Anyone? Serena, you want to ask her something? No? Hmm. Actually, this topic is in our family, right? We sometimes the children and the parent, sometimes we have a good time together. So it's called positive affinity. But sometimes we have a very rough relation, right? That means it's conflict, right? So we have the negative karmic affinity. Even husband and wife, right? We do sometimes have a good time together, but we also have bad time together. Even the sibling, you see that? Why do we need to understand the karmic affinity? Just like Sophia said that, in order to understand it, so we can avoid a negative one, so we can create a positive one to have a good relation with others. This is important, especially if we in under the negative karmic affinity. Then how do we practice the love and kindness and compassion? Let me clarify the love and kindness in more clear, so you can understand more clear. Love and kindness, you bring happiness to others. How do you bring happiness to others? Under the negative affinity, right? Karmic affinity. Usually, what do we do when we encounter the negative affinity? What do we do? Sophia, what do we do?
We have a sense of hate.
We will react, right? We will react with the violence. We not be able to be patient, right? So then, in order to practice the love and kindness, you need to be patient. And in the 42 section sutra, the Buddha asked the Brahma asked the Buddha, what is the greatest strength? The Buddha said that patience. Patience is the greatest strength. Why? Because it can win over the enemy. Right? When we say enemy here, it's not the enemy from the outside, but the enemy from the inside. So when you be able to practice the patience, right, automatically you bring happiness to others and yourself. Does that make sense? If we do not patient, we fight, we argue, automatically you bring suffer to you and you to other people. We be able to be patient and using love and kindness word to treat others. Just like the people who are resentment, who are angry at us with the resentment. But we do not use the resentment attitude toward them. But we use the love and kindness toward them. Eventually, can you be able to transform those negative affinities? You definitely do. And this is what the Buddha said. Even though you have let's say that you are very rich and you have the great wealth, right? You can use all your money to do the good deed. You help the poor, you help many people, and you build a temple, or you do whatever you do. And you use your own labor to do the good deed. All those good deeds add all together, non-comparable to the patient, that you be able to be patient with the negative affinity. Non-comparable. Which one is greater? Sophia, which one is greater? The blessing.
I'm not sure.
And Anjan, what do you think? Which one help you to generate the more blessing? Between the one who be able to be patient and the one who do a lot of good deeds with all their wealth.
The person who's being patient to change the negative karmic affinity.
That's correct. That's correct. Because it's not easy to do that. Remember, the wealth and the labor we are using to help others, it comes from the external. Right? But when we get angry, we will burn all the good deeds that we did. Just like Putin, right? He did, right? Because he ignorant and he the madman, right? He the butcher. He destroy all his blessings. At the same time, he make a lot of people suffer, even his country people. So, but the one who be able to practice the patience, this is what we call not only the blessing. In Buddhism, we call virtue. The virtue is the most difficult thing to practice. The virtue comes from the inner, not from the outer. So then you know what? When you enjoy the blessing generated from your virtue, it never ends. But the blessing you generate from your external material, it will eventually end. Does it make sense? This is the huge thing. So when you, let's say that later on everyone have to die, right? And when they die, they rebirth. All the good thing or bad thing of the karma, they follow them, just like the shadow follow us. So the virtue that they generate in this lifetime, they follow them. And they will enjoy not only one life, many life after. And the blessing through that virtue become the nature of this person. And you know what? Every time he encountered a negative affinity, he'd be able to know how to deal with it in the loving kind of way. This is important. Now, what is the definition of the compassion? Compassion is mean when we see the people suffer, right? We feel the suffering of that person, just like we are the suffering. And we try to find the way to help them to have less suffering or even no suffering, and bring them happiness. Using the method that we find out and use that method to bring them happiness. So the compassion, it includes two components. One is the loving kindness. The other one is the wisdom. The loving kindness, it means that, no, the wisdom is, because when we feel the suffering of others, we will try to find the way to help them. This is called the wisdom. And when you have the method and you use this method to help them to be have less suffering or free from the suffering, this is called love and kindness. You understand the difference between the two? It's clear, right? Very clear. And when you be able to use the love and kindness and compassion to deal with the love and to deal with the negative affinity you have, and doesn't matter where you go, where you live, you will be at peace. Does it make sense? Because the peace comes from the mind, not come from other people. So this is how you generate your blessing. So, Serena and everyone, you understand, right? So far? Tina, Serena, you understand? Anyone have a question? But I think the topic, both topics are very good. I really enjoyed both topics. Wow. How do you feel, Agent and Sophia and Thay? Well, how do you feel for your first engine? How do you feel for your first presentation?
I think I did bad. I think I could have done better.
Yeah, but that is very, very good experience, right? What about the research? Did you find it easy or it's tough or whatever?
It's not that difficult since I usually research a lot in school anyways.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Don't worry, I will come up with a lot of different topics in Buddhism, so you can learn different things. Sophia, what about you?
I was kind of scared at first and I kept on like stuttering while reading, but I think it was overall okay. I could have done better, but you know.
But don't worry, you did a really good job. So did you, Betty, what about you?
I was like really nervous, but then when I like started presenting, it got like a little better.
Yeah, this is good, you know. You this is the good thing that you can conquer your own fear. This is the good thing. You'll be able to have you boost your self-confidence. So you understand the Buddhism more, right? When you do research on your own compared to I teach you, right? Because when I teach you, you understand not too much. But when you do the research, you understand a lot. This is good. That's what I like, because this is the whole idea. I want to create this kind of the environment so you can learn the platform for you to be able to enjoy your learning. Okay, let's stop right here. We are a little bit over. Not too much over, but a little bit over. Right. Okay, Tina, go ahead. No.
May every living being, our minds are one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with heart of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see our hands and heart can find and give in unity, may their minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward, may all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night, because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise, may all become compassionate and wise.
Very good. So, all right. So, I will see you on Thursday, right? Thank you. Namo Yidapaka. Bye.
Beautiful time.
Beautiful
Okay.
time.
Beautiful.